Okay, let's talk about diet. I mean, with thousands of diet books out there and just endless conflicting advice, it is so easy to feel completely lost. So today, we're going to cut through all of that noise and look at what the science actually says about eating for a long, healthy life. So let's just kick things off with a number that really puts everything into perspective: 22%. According to a massive global study, this is the percentage of all deaths in the world that are linked directly to a poor diet. And let's be super clear about this. That is more than smoking, more than high blood pressure, more than any other single health risk out there. The food we eat, or the food we don't eat, is literally the biggest factor affecting our health on a global scale. The stakes really couldn't be any higher. So that brings us to the million-dollar question, right? If our diet is so incredibly important, what does a truly healthy diet even look like, according to the actual evidence? Well, that's exactly what we are going to break down. Here's our game plan. First, we're going to explore our modern diet dilemma, basically why we're all so confused. Then we'll zoom in on the main culprit: ultra-processed foods. After that, we'll build the blueprint for longevity, bust some common diet myths, and then wrap it all up with some takeaways you can actually use today. All right, let's jump right in with Section 1, the modern diet dilemma. Let's start by looking at why this is all so confusing in the first place. Get this, there are over 60,000 diet books just on Amazon, and every single one is promising some kind of miracle. Then you add in the massive influence of big food, which spends double what the tobacco and alcohol industries spend combined to influence what we think is healthy. It's a perfect storm of misinformation. Okay, so to get through that storm, we need to identify the real problem. And in the last few years, science has started pointing its finger at one major villain: ultra-processed foods. So meet ultra-processed foods, or UPFs. And I love this way of thinking about them as unidentified food-like objects, UFOs. Because let's be honest, they're not really food. They are industrial formulas of fats, starches, and sugars, just packed with additives you would never find in your own kitchen. Things like emulsifiers, modified starches, you name it. Now, to help us spot these UFOs, scientists created this really handy tool called the NOVA classification system. It's actually pretty simple. Group 1, that's your whole foods: fruits, veggies, the real stuff. Group 2 is your basic kitchen ingredients like oil and salt. Group 3 has simple processed foods like canned fish or a basic loaf of bread. But it's Group 4 that we really need to watch out for. This is the ultra-processed stuff: your sodas, chips, packaged cookies, and most of the frozen meals aisle. And this right here shows you exactly what happens when we eat those foods. In a really important study from the NIH, people were put on 2 different diets. The results were just staggering. The group eating the ultra-processed diet, they just spontaneously ate 500 extra calories a day and gained a significant amount of weight in only 2 weeks. They weren't even trying to eat more. And this isn't just about calories. It's about what this stuff does to our brains. Dr. Chris Van Tulleken put himself on an 80% UPF diet for a month, and he said his brain scans showed enormous changes in the connections between the habit and the reward and addiction parts of his brain. These foods are literally designed to make us lose control. So what are the long-term consequences? Well, they're severe. A diet high in UPFs is linked to a 55% higher risk of obesity and a 40% higher risk of type 2 diabetes. And it messes with our brains too. For every 10% increase of UPFs in your diet, your risk of cognitive impairment goes up by 16%. And maybe the most shocking thing, if you're eating more than 4 servings of this stuff a day, you have a 62% higher risk of dying from any cause. Okay, we have definitely seen the villain. So what's the hero of this story? What is the scientifically backed blueprint for eating our way to a long, healthy life? Well, the most solid evidence we have all points to the Mediterranean diet. Now, this is not a restrictive, miserable diet in the way we think of them. It's really just a pattern of eating. And as you can see, the blueprint is simple. It's all about healthy fats like olive oil, protein from fish and legumes, and tons of fruits and vegetables. And just as important is what it discourages: things like soda, sugary pastries, and red and processed meats. It's a diet based on whole, real foods. And the results? They really do speak for themselves. One of the largest, most important trials ever found that people at high risk for heart disease who followed this diet saw their combined risk of heart attack, stroke, or death from cardiovascular disease drop by 30%. I mean, that is a huge, life-saving impact. Okay, so now that we have the blueprint, let's clear up some of the usual confusion by tackling a few of those diet myths that just never seem to go away. First up, red meat. The evidence here is pretty darn clear. The World Health Organization classifies processed meat as a known carcinogen, the same category as tobacco, and red meat as a probable one. On the other hand, plant-based diets are consistently linked with a lower risk of death and disease. And the environmental difference is just stark. Switching to a more plant-based diet can cut your food-related greenhouse gas emissions almost in half. So, what about our other daily habits? Let's do a quick lightning round. First, coffee. Good news for coffee lovers. Big studies consistently link it to a lower risk of death and heart problems. Next up, alcohol. You know that idea of a healthy glass of red wine? Yeah, that's pretty much a myth. The health risks go up really fast after just a very small amount. And finally, supplements. The truth is, for most people who are eating a healthy diet, there's little to no benefit, and some can even be harmful. You just can't beat real food. Okay, we have covered a ton of science. But what does this all mean for you today, when you're in the grocery store or in your kitchen? Let's boil it all down to 5 simple things you can actually do. Here it is, your 5-step blueprint. 1. Read the ingredients. If you see a super long list of things you can't pronounce, it's a UPF. Just put it back. 2. Shop the perimeter of the grocery store. That's usually where all the real fresh food lives. 3. Make fiber your friend. Get it from Whole Foods, veggies, fruits, beans. Aiming for around 30 grams a day is a great goal. 4. Cook with healthy fats, especially extra virgin olive oil. It's a cornerstone of the world's healthiest diets. And number 5, limit red meat and try to avoid processed meats like bacon and sausage as much as you possibly can. So here is the most important takeaway from all of this. Despite all the noise and all the confusion, the science is actually surprisingly clear. The blueprint for a long and healthy life isn't some big secret. The only real question left is, what's the one small change you can make today to start building yours?